Yeah. Good. Yes. Okay, welcome everybody. Thanks for coming out this evening. We're hopefully gonna have some good conversation. Just wanna start off by acknowledging again tonight that we're meeting here on Treaty 5 territory, which is the homeland of our good friends and neighbors, the Opaskwayak Cree Nation, as well as many other Indigenous people and the Manitoba Métis Nation. So thought I would start with just a quick introduction. We have some people in the room that are gonna actually say a few things. So Constable Stark is here, or sorry, Sergeant Stark is here, and Commanding Officer. So close, but so far. Right. Corporal, Kyle? Yeah. Kyle's here, and then maybe I could get council and the rest of our staff, if you don't mind, to just introduce yourself. So Bola, you just wanna.
Okay. My name is Bola. I'm the city for the town. Yeah, welcome.
Welcome everyone, I got the same deputy mayor.
Clayton Chartrand, CSO for the town of the Paul. Go Ward, CSO town of Paul.
Blake Connors, CSO manager for Town Hall.
Margaret Commodore, councilor for town of Paul.
Brent Bench, counselor.
Tim Collins, counselor. Jerry Humber, counselor.
Larry.
Third order, counselor.
Tanvir extensively, then it goes on.
Did we miss anyone while we have our good friend Jonathan here?
You can have the development officer, Jonathan Roman.
So what we're hoping to do tonight, we're gonna, trying to round this into about an hour and a half. I'm sure the discussion is gonna go a lot longer and there's things that are gonna be important that we can talk about for an afternoon, but what we'll try to do is sort of get through some ideas and share some information. But the real purpose of today, is, so with our agendas, we're gonna sort of see some of the things that's already happening within the community that people may not be aware of and just sort of try to paint the picture. And my friend Sergeant Stark will share some information, as well as our CSO manager will share some information with his crew. And then we just sort of trigger some questions here about deciding, what's going well. There has to be something going well in our community. What's not going so well? Is there things that we should start doing? Some things that we should stop doing? And then sort of summarize whether we've actually captured any new solutions. But it also helps us as to get that information, is to be able to move that forward and have those discussions with other agencies, and we have other meetings upcoming. So we'll summarize that and we'll give a quick wrap up. So as I mentioned, today's purpose is really an opportunity to hear from the community members. We know and we hear and we see people are worried, people are angry, and that's completely okay. I mean, we're not telling you, we're not the council, and I speak for myself maybe, but we're not always happy either, the way things are moving and how fast they can move. And also some of the barriers that we see in front of us is that they're not quite that easy to push over. We want to learn about, share with some of the actions, as I mentioned, that are underway today. Maybe identify some of the good things that are currently happening. And then if there's something that we're missing, if we identified some other actions that maybe could be identified that we can take to improve safety. And I thought I'd just throw this up real quick tonight because I know it's a sensitive issue for a lot of us, and what we want to try to do is, let's be really tough on the problems tonight, we want to see the passion, but let's be a little bit softer on the people. It's not always a person problem, it could be a process issue. Let's try to be one voice at a time, try to stay on topic. So we don't really want to talk about potholes today, but if it's related to public safety, we will. But if we can kind of keep on that. Try to stay away from, like I mentioned, challenging the ideas. Let's not get into some personal attacks. Share the air, and accountability does matter. And this is why, we as a council have taught, we're accountable to you guys. You elected us. We want to hear from you. We wanna show that, you know, we might be missing something, but we also wanna show you what we're doing. And if there's other things that we can be doing, we wanna hear that from you as well. So really about active listening, let's ask some questions and listen to the answer. And let's try to stick to facts, respect everybody. Be positive, participate, and let's have a little bit of fun at the same time. So really, our goal tonight is really, we are all in this together. And you know, I think that collectively we can maybe come up with some solutions, problem solving. So I'll just take the next few minutes, we're gonna just go through a few slides, so we'll start off with, looks what's happening, a nice little picture, I like that kind of stuff, but, maybe I'll pass it over to Sergeant Stark, he can share a little bit of the information with regards to, sort of where the actual policing is and what the actual crime stats are for August, this is, the end of July.
I'll come sneak over here so you can also see the screen while I'm talking to you. Again, I'm Sergeant Stark, I'm the detachment commander for the pod attachment. Thank you for being here today, and I'm looking forward to addressing any of the concerns you may have. One of the things that I think is important that I'll just quickly touch on before we get into the statistics here is that you have an understanding of where our operations, what our organizational chart is for the pod attachment. We are supposed to have 23 uniform members and 7 administrative employees. That would be involving a staff sergeant, sergeant operations, NCO, 4 corporals, which are watch supervisors, 17 constables, 3 public service employees, a public service employee supervisor, 4 municipal employees for a total of 30 people in the detachment. Previous to 2025, we had 10 uniformed members and 5 administrative staff. Currently, we have 15 uniformed members and 6 administrative staff. And the projection moving forward is going to be 13 uniform members, 5 administrative staff out of 30. So we're batting about a 50% right now for vacancies. I'm just going to touch a little bit on our statistics here. When I look at the actual call volumes, the statistics were drawn from a sample group involving January to July of 2025 compared to January to July 2024. So a little bit of a tighter group, not fully just because we haven't gone through our full year yet for 2025. And this will be the closest to capturing the most accurate stats for this year comparatively to last year. In totality, our stats and our calls are now down 1.7%. So that's 4,214 now versus 4,286 as captured in this time period last year. Some of the key things that you'll see in here are positive trends. Our drug enforcement's down by 50%. Our mental health calls are down 37.5%, public disorder 9.1%, prisoners down 10.5%, sexual assaults down 23.1%, robbery, harassment, and threats down 5.8%. Now, what I want to do is just take a second here to address that and just kind of give you a bit of an idea as to why you're seeing these numbers. Drug enforcement decreased by 50%. That decrease is attributed to earlier enforcement efforts, key subject apprehensions, and incarcerations. When we look at our mental health calls are down 37.5%. This decrease is attributed to a focused consultation with St. Anthony's Hospital and clarifying responsibilities, when to call us, when not to call us, who's responsible for situations, etc. So in that, we were able to decrease and identify that some of the calls that we were receiving, which can be upwards of 600 calls per year, were not calls that we are necessarily responsible for to take forward. Public disorder down 9.1%. That decrease is attributed to higher police CSO visibility and presence within the core area of your community. Prisoners down 10.5%. That decrease is also attributed to higher police and CSO visibility and presence again within the core area of the community. Sexual assaults, we've got a decrease of 23.1%. That decrease is attributed to increased focused enforcement efforts involving drugs, firearms, residential evictions, criminal apprehension, and retentions. We look at the key areas of increase, areas of concern. Motor vehicle collisions are up 72.7%, impaired driving are up 31%, Assaults are up 14.4%. Break and enters are up 17.7%. Weapons offenses are up 8.1%, and thefts are up 0.8%. Now, in articulation of those, motor vehicle collisions are up 72.7%. That increase is attributed mostly to minor collisions. These are your fender benders, somebody backing into somebody's vehicle, etc. And vehicular operations in poor weather conditions by newer drivers. Impaired driving, 31%. That increase is attributed mostly to technological advances within our implementation of enforcement techniques. And that is dealing with it's called an ADSE. And that ADSE is for drug impaired driving enforcement and the ease of detection in this area and enforcement efforts. So not only are we testing for alcohol impaired driving, we had a process before which is a little bit more cumbersome and more manual, where now we have a device that actually does the business for us. Very easy to do. We had members that were trained and went out there and actually utilized the device to its fullest capacity, and that's what they got more charges because of that. We look at assaults, 14.4%. That increase is attributed mostly to transient confliction and gang-on-gang activity. Weapons offenses, 8.1% increase, again attributed to enforcement efforts and the crackdown on firearms and traffic offenses. Weapons of opportunity are now more prevalent amidst the community's transient population, and in dealing with public mischief offenses, more weapons of opportunity are being used and found in the client's possession, resulting in charges being laid. I want to just quickly touch on, if I could, some of the projects that we've done that had the direct, result on some of those statistics. These are projects and operations that were undertaken that were planned. We had offender management apprehension projects planned. This is the offenders being released in the community and the conditions that they're on that we're checking on them. Drug trafficking interdictions, that's smuggling, trafficking of illegal and legal drugs into the community. Weapons and firearms interdiction, which is the smuggling and trafficking of illegal possession of weapons, firearms into the community. Impaired driving interdiction, I explained this is with the ASD, the ADSE, SFSD's DRE administration for drug and alcohol or combinations of drug and alcohol while being impaired in an operation of a vehicle. We've planned water and road safety enforcements. We've been conducting checks on educational and enforcement patrols on our waterways and on our roadways. School visitations and presentations where the members are actually going in and attending at the schools and conducting presentations to the schools and its students. Recruitment drives, local recruitment drives and recruitment projects within the community and the surrounding area. Public visibility, there was core area patrols and enforcements conducted, stationary enforcements and walking patrols that were done in that period of time. And criminal forfeiture fund grants, we were able to get grants for $25,000 to a land-based Diamond Willow group that was for traditional teachings, and a $30,000 CSO second vehicle acquisition. We had major unplanned events that took place, which was our wildfires. We were involved in spring wildfire evacuation, scene security, road closures, valley protection, and suppression efforts in 9 communities within this area. And outside of our area, taking us all the way up into Flin Flon and Snow Lake. We had a double fatal collision on Highway 60, which were involved in security, scene security and road closures, drug trafficking, weapon warrant executions and scene security at homes in town, weapons and firearms warrant executions and scene security, emergency search and rescues of stranded motorists on Highway 10 and 6, urgent emergency search and rescue for stranded boaters, Clearwater, Cormorant, Saskatchewan River, and urgent emergency search and rescue of persons in medical distress requesting for assistance through EMS, which is with our snowmobiles, ATVs, UTVs, Argos, helicopters, etc. I think in closing, I just want to touch on a few quick points here. I'm really extremely proud of the exceptional service that's continually being provided by my detachment, its members, its personnel in such austere conditions. And I'll explain austere conditions. The level of professionalism commitment and the dedications emanated by my detachment members and personnel on a daily basis under these conditions over the last 7 years is bar none to the expectations of any other detachments or police force in this province. Austere conditions being at below 50%, policing through the community and provincial health crisis is COVID, weather and fire catastrophes, aging and failed infrastructure within our detachment that left us affected over the seasonal extremes of winter cold and summer heat. The elimination of isolated post, extremely high investigational file loads per member ratios. And our membership and personnel forged their way through these limitations and others and barriers, continually going beyond expectations and maintaining and achieving exceptionally high levels of service delivery to the town of the Paw, the RM of Kelsey, and the communities of Cormorant, Wanglish, Rocky Lake, and areas in between. I'll button it up here. Our membership knows exactly what it takes to police your jurisdiction and the populations within it. We strive to provide the best service to all of these areas and beyond, at times with no limitations to us. We do this through steadfast and strong partnerships with our other emergency and law enforcement agencies, including the community safety officers, the local area experts. And when the situation calls for it, you can count on us all to mobilize, engage, and work together as a team of trained and experienced professionals to maintain your safety and the safety of your community. This was all on full display this spring when you saw the wildfire evacuations and response, as well in a lesser display but equally relevant time frame during our search and rescues of high risk operations around your community. Most importantly, we couldn't do what we do without our community's support and our home and personnel personal supports. You all are who keep us healthy, you keep us motivated, you keep us driven to succeed, and to which we cannot thank you enough. So thank you for that. And moving forward into this presentation, I want you to take the time to understand and remember, it takes a community to raise a community. It also takes a community to help maintain it and protect it. It all starts with you guys. Thank you.
Mike, you wanna lead us through some of the CSO stuff?
Hey guys, just to let you know, these two guys here are the two that wrote most, so he's gonna speak first. Go ahead.
Yeah, on the community safety officers, our mandate, our municipal support responses to the community, particularly the vulnerable citizens facing issues such as public disorder, homelessness, addiction, and mental health challenges. Visible patrols, that's what we're out there doing. Most of the time, we're driving around nonstop all day, pretty much, in the downtown area. We engage with the businesses and community, first responders, public safety organizations, service providers, and individuals experiencing homelessness. We connect with vulnerable citizens to help coordinate appropriate social, health, and enforcement responses. We address bylaw violations and incidents of public disorder, assisting those in need. Emphasis voluntary compliance strategies that include referrals to services, medication, or mediation, public education, warnings, restorative justice, and alternate dispute resolution.
So if you wanted to read this too, this is on the Town of the Paw website. This is how the program started, and again, the guys touched on a lot of those points in their daily work, but you know, there's still things that are in progress, because how long has your program been up and running for?
About a year and a half now,
Yeah.
so come a long way from when we first started.
Good. So just wanna,
Yeah. So, up here right now, we have just some stats that we have, for the August, what we do. Unwanteds, 204 calls for unwanteds. Unwanteds are basically business calls us because they have people in the door, we didn't want people there, so we go and kind of keep them, out of the banks, to places like that. IPDAs. This is the Intoxicating Person Detention Act. Basically, we have 28 of them for August that we lodged, took them off the street and lodged them. The interaction with liquor is basically, if we come across them, if we find them drinking, we literally take the bottle and pour it out. So we had about 105 times that we poured the liquor out on them, and they don't like it very, they get pretty upset at us. EMS calls, we had 2 of them for August. Basically, if we come across personnel that's on the street or let down, we cannot wake them, we call the ambulance right away. Give them to the hospital. MHAs, we didn't have any MHAs, mental health, this month, where we go sit with them at the hospital, and let the RCMP, if the RCMP is there, we let them go into the major scenes if they need to, so. RCMP and fire, we had 5 calls, that's basically, we assisted the RCMP with, security on, roads, blockages, roads, stuff like that. The fire, traffic control for fire, if we have a fire, making sure that the scene is safe for them. The total call, for assistance for the month of August was 239 altogether. Total hours that the CSOs worked for the month of August was 450 hours altogether. And that's pretty much for stats for August.
So Mike, this is, you know, a report that's coming out on a monthly basis now, and something that people will see more visible, like online or wherever you happen to be, and sort of make it, not reboot.
Hi, mine's the question, I noticed your contact information there.
Down the,
Contact you directly to get these.
yes, we have, all 3 of us have, cell phones. These cell phones are, at the lower part. Remember that we do work from Tuesday to Fridays. We work from 10 AM to 8 AM in the night.
8 PM.
8 PM.
And we have this contact number on our website.
But I wasn't sure
Yeah,
what was there.
So I know I've seen a few pictures being taken of the slides. This will be online, so it's gonna be available to anybody that wants to grab the whole presentation later to look at anything else. So just sort of a couple other things that are happening within the community, and I know some people in this room may be involved in it. As the Community Safety Wellbeing Plan, that was the plan that was sponsored by Manitoba Justice. They initiated these pilot programs in 8 or 9 communities. The town of DePaul was selected for one. And so what they did is they actually went out and got a steering committee made up of the individual, well, I didn't put their names up there, but people that were working in those areas. So that getting a good cross section of people so that they could get sort of steered and what's gonna help our community as a well-being plan. And then they did about 800 surveys were taken. They engaged like all different types of groups, the seniors, Oscar's Place, Canadian Mental Health, the whole pile, harm reduction group, like there's a whole pile of people that they talked to. And what they came out with right now, and this is something that council will see in the next few weeks because it hasn't even been presented yet, is sort of key priorities area around housing, homelessness. This is, you know, I guess none of this is really a surprise. Substance use, mental health, crime and safety, children and youth, services, infrastructure and development, and a sense of belonging. And so from this, again, council has to sort of get this presentation. I believe it's gonna be set up early October. So they get an opportunity to see it. And then from there, it's actually, there's a very stringent action plan that gets tracked and to see if we're actually making any progress. Some of the things that have been identified in that program's they're already sort of in place and moving. And there is some new things, but again, it's still, we have to get council sort of blessing on it. It's gonna take some work, some other investments to sort of managing it going forward. And what we've heard is that the provincial government, and maybe I know Amanda, our MLA is watching and her assistant is here, Jessica. But what we understand is that the NDP will sponsor this program for another year and provide some funding to be able to the group that's helped us develop it, so that we can keep it on track. Because one of the things I know council has talked about is we don't want another binder to go on the wall that's said we put in thousands and thousands of hours worth of work and nothing happens with it. So hopefully it doesn't turn out that way. And so just some other things that people may not be aware of that your council and your administration are doing. You know, we're in continuous talks around healthcare and recruitment and infrastructure with the provincial government, with Amanda's office, with everybody that listens to us about the things that we believe that are gonna be needed and the needs that we have in our community. You know, Jonathan has worked with the CDC on housing. We understand the housing issues. We do realize that, you know, we need more affordable housing. We've applied for the affordable housing grants now 2 years in a row, I believe, Big Jonathan, and we've been turned down each time. So hopefully the third time's a charm. And Jonathan's in conversations with developers all the time, like, you know, that's the main role. And that's things that can't be just made public because there's private conversations and contracts being done. We've had discussions with the Crown Attorney, and I've talked to my friend Sergeant Stark about this, where I'll be honest, we called them and said, we don't want drug dealers released from jail, period. And can I come to court and tell you that you can't have them be released from jail? And he said, no, because you don't have any standing in court. But now that I have your message and I had a meeting with him, he understands where our position is as a community. We're responsible for the safety of our community, and we don't want people that are causing grief in our community released from prison. We want them to get help, whatever that help looks like, but they need to get some help and not be repeating offenders. And you can see across Canada, it's a pretty common theme where, you know, and so we're doing the same thing in the PAW and having those conversations, not only with the Crown, but with the judges. I know Colin probably rolls his eyes at me in the middle of the night, sometimes when I shoot him a text off my brainwave saying, why are we doing this? So anyways, we've also created an interagency group, and it's been a little bit in development still, like we're still got some growing pains on that. We haven't met since May because of the summer and all that other sort of stuff. But this is a group that brings together Justice, RCMP, Manitoba First Nations Policing, OCN, I believe Renee's group's there, ARM's there. And we bring all these people into the same room and say, what are our common issues? Where are the common grounds that we can work together on? Where are the gaps? Where can we support each other? And, you know, one thing that I learned from corrections, which you would never think of, one of their challenges is in the winter time, they don't have enough winter jackets to release people. So sometimes that may be a good idea, but, you know, in reality, like, how could we not have enough winter jackets? So that's sort of the discussions we're having. You know, we have continuous discussion with our neighboring communities, you know, our friends at Opaskwayak, as well as the Arm of Kelsey, as well as, you know, the community of Grand Rapids and all the other communities around us. And this is where we spend a lot of time in communities. You hear us talking about going to the Association of Manitoba Municipality conferences, but these are where these conversations happen, because a lot of those things that they're doing, they may be doing good, we steal their idea, but there's a lot of commonality in the challenges that we have all across all the municipalities in Manitoba that still doesn't make it good. So we're talking about crime prevention through environmental design, and that's just kind of got kicked off with Sergeant Stark's assistance. And Bolin, do you want to talk a little bit about that? Bolin?
Yes, this project is kind of it's under RCMP, and what they want to teach us is how can we design our house that will be more safe than the way it is as of today. So we will be getting some enlightenment from them, and I contacted Collins, and he actually connected me with someone, so we're on it. As soon as that one get done, I believe that will really support us in some area in terms of safety, design, environment, and some other stuff in that category.
So that's around when you talk about environmental design, that's about, do we have lights in the right spots? Do we have cameras in the right spots? Are we creating these hiding spots that we need to clean up? And I think there's some good examples of that that's happened over the last little while. With Kelsey School, Hogan Avenue, I know our staff worked with the owners of those lots to kind of get that cleaned up and to make it less of a collection area. There's also, they did some work around the museum in the last couple of days to sort of stop the hang around spots. And those are the things that businesses can do as well, right? So you've got places where people are just hanging out and sitting around, you can redesign that. So will be more to come on that. There's a Safer Community and Neighborhood Act, so we did leave that back there. So this is really an opportunity, if you do have something, and the RCMP are super busy, as Colin said, but this is another avenue for us to be able to report crime. And so if you see, you believe that they're your neighbors doing something that they shouldn't be, bootlegging alcohol, selling drugs, whatever it happens to be, you can call this line. You can be anonymous. They take the information, and then there's a separate group that will come and actually do some surveillance and do the checks and see if there's something there to be able to correct that. So we encourage everybody all the time, take that, call it in. It doesn't hurt to call, just like we say with our friends at the RCMP. When you see something that's not right, call the RCMP. Let them decide whether it's important enough to actually attend, because they may have other things, but they need to understand what's going on. We can't just say, oh, I'm just gonna leave it, because they might be having a lot more information on something there that just adds to it. That doesn't mean they're gonna respond immediately on every single issue, but they should have the information. And then the last thing I'll just add is my friend Kristen D. We do participate in the Play It Safe network, with regards to harm reduction, and sit on that table to try to understand and learn and sort of grow as a community. I know Krista will say I don't always agree with everything that's in that room, and that's good, because that's what makes us a stronger team. But that's, so those are some of the other things that we're doing as a community, and I know like our CSOs and our administration are doing a lot more, but your council does have some irons in the fire here, and we are trying to knock those barriers over and continue to make some improvements. So what I was hope to do now, and what we could just have a quick conversation, and I'm hoping that we're gonna get out of here in time, but over the next few minutes here, maybe we could have a discussion on, is there anything going good within the community? And I'd like to capture some of that, because what I would like to do, I am meeting with some officials in Winnipeg during AMM. And I would like to have some real fresh information on what the community believes and what the challenges are. So do you see anything going
Could
good?
I ask her to, start to discuss more about these walking patrols that you spoke of?
In relation to like how many we do or where we go.
Where are they?
So our walking patrols are a little bit more specific to special times within the community, where we would have like an influx of people for, let's say, like Travelers Festival or the rodeo or OID. We just go around, and it's more of a visual presence within the community where we can talk to some of our transient population, some of our local population, and some of our visiting population. I'll just speak real quickly about the rodeo. We were actually very lucky to have the opportunity to ride on horseback and take patrols around the community, just kind of sharing some of our history and letting people know that the Elm is still in RCMP. We have a lot of options and things available to us that some police forces don't, perhaps, and it allows us to do a little bit more policing positives, I guess, when it comes to those kind of things. So the number of walking patrols within the last year, We also attend school, so I'm gonna say upwards of about 40 to 50.
Anybody else, and we can move on to the fun, easy stuff of all the bad things, but is there, you know, like I think the CSO program. Is actually going very well and developing well and supporting the RCMP that's going around. You know, I think our RCMP members, as Sergeant Stark has mentioned, are going well above many other detachments, because although they're short, and we talk about that, they're still covering us. I mean, they're putting in a lot of extra time away from their families and to ensure that we're safe, so they're not leaving us hanging. But, you know, it's still a gap that we work on all the time with our partners, saying, you know, we need to get those positions filled.
I'd just like to add one specific thing is the partnerships that are being developed within the community and around our surrounding areas. We know of partnerships that happen to other detachments with fire departments, EMS, so on and so forth. But really, when it comes to, been in the force now for 25 plus years. I've been to several different areas, and I can say unquestioned, this has been the one place that I have personally worked in that I know of totality in 2 provinces that has come the closest together with our fire, our EMS, our CSO, our towns, our RMs, our counselors, our mayors, to work together to collectively keep your community safe. So I think, to me, that is a massive positive to this community.
I like the discussions that you've been having at the town council meetings about putting up cameras around the community. And I believe they were gonna be able to be watched by everybody.
That's my goal.
Yeah.
I think that's something that should be there in all the parks and all the high visibility spots. Right?
I'd like to thank this council for putting up speed zones in schools. I know it's brought to multiple councils, and I think you guys are the first ones to address it and make it happen. So as a parent, I thank you for that.
Fun stuff's coming up. So, what about this though? What's not going so well then? Right?
Again, this is for
Maybe new page or.
it's not the action, but what do we have to do? We can get a full crew, okay?
Oh, what?
A full, like these guys are. beating their- Fully
Fully staffed RCMP?
These guys are beating their heads against the wall. I'm surprised you still have air. It's not fair to you guys. As a community, we're paying an outrageous amount of money. What do we have to do to make your job easier? Like, who has to get involved?
Well. Yeah, no, go ahead. I mean, you can say your piece there.
Sure, yeah. There's not one particular thing, I wish it was, because it would make it so much easier, but unfortunately, we have a number of things that are kind of contributing to the situation that we're in that are completely out of our control and well above and beyond our local, and our divisional, leadership and management. The circumstances that we're faced with, they all kind of play together. And I'll just say it in generalized, we do have a very high call volume, per member ratio. When you look at any other detachment that's out there, their call volume to member ratios are extremely lower. They can make more money and expend less time. So we're in a situation where we're fighting against things that we have no control over. And it's the creation of the partnerships with the community, with the mayor and council, that bring those connections together, and our municipal, our federal, our provincial leadership that can assist us the most in this area, where they can provide us some forms of assistance that can help us in general.
So just as a note, Brian, just let me add a little bit in there. So every opportunity we have, when we sit in front of the Minister of Justice or the federal ministers, we talk about a couple of things. We talk about the loss of the isolation posting pay. We think it's absolutely ridiculous
Absolutely.
that how they came up with that, and this council and the last council had been advocating on that behalf for and we still do it, and it's actually it is actually at the provincial level, so they know, and it's a priority provincially. The second thing is we talk about is the housing issue. You know, I know myself and Sergeant Stark talked about housing and forced housing and stuff like that, but that's a federal thing that has to come forward to support these guys, because recruitment's a challenge everywhere. So they do have that recruitment challenge. The other thing that, there was one other thing that we talked to them about,
Cost,
what's that?
RCMP cost,
What?
RCMP.
Oh, yeah, well, that's the RCMP, like our RCMP costs. I mean, that's a completely different story. That's not a local issue, that's a federal issue, but what I can say is that, we, support, what Sergeant Stark is saying. We need to make it more attractive here for, it's crazy that the isolated posting pay, and I know I've talked to Amanda about this, and I've talked to every single minister about this that will listen to me. Because, you know, because of a few kilometers on gravel road, to Prince Albert, is considered a major center. So, yeah, we are supporting, to make it better.
Because, I don't know, like, you said a mouthful with. You know, the amount of volume of calls and like,
Yeah,
somebody's got their. Head somewhere where it shouldn't be, to not realize that these guys need help.
well, I think it's your system too, though,
There's
because
a little bit of, it is, yeah, it is, but. To address your question specifically, how can you help me? How can you help my detachment? How can you help my members? Honestly, I'm gonna pass this around, and I encourage each and every one of you to take a little sample of it. Have conversations with your family, have conversations with your relatives, friends. Recruitment is huge for us, and we're looking for good people. 18 years is a minimum to get in, and it goes all the way up to no maximum, all right? So if you're thinking of a way to help us, and you realize that we need more members, we're looking for good people, we always have been and we always will. And I would love to work with anyone that would be able to come to the pot and work with us to keep your community safe. So I'm gonna pass this around, and this is our recruitment information. It might not be for you, but maybe you've got a relative or family member in your family. So I just ask that you please consider that.
so one thing, you know, and I'll help some people out. I know that there's areas in town that people's privacy are being invaded. Their personal space, I would expect that would be on somebody's list. If you don't want to say it, because it would be on my list, and I see it online. So that would be something that's not going so well.
So it sounds sort of like. Essentially what's causing or limiting, I guess, the amount of resources that we have would be some funding probably. In terms of if we had more money, we could put more people out there, do more stuff like that. No.
No, so how the RCMP funding works is that we get the request, as Sergeant Stark said, this is the number that we're getting, and it's 30, and that's what we get available. It's the RCMP is in charge of recruitment, so they have to place their members here. It's not, so if they came in and said, we filled up all 30, we would pay it. Oh, that's what I was gonna say, but one of the things, what I was gonna mention is that when we talk about the isolation pay, if you remember, and I've mentioned this to others, within government. The provincial government or the PC government at the time, as a campaign promise, that said that they would actually give a $10,000, tax incentive to RCMP members posted in these areas. If that's all that it took. And that was if that was gonna guarantee somebody filling spots here, you never know what would happen. So
So can we look at an alternative to the RCMP? If it's something in their system where we have a high call rate to, officer volume. And we have all these sorts of situations where we can't seem to get bodies to come up to the plot and be officers. can we not create a secondary type of police force?
Yeah.
So similar to the First Nations police that they have on OCN, similar to some of the First Nation safety officers that they have on OCN. You know, there's 3 different levels of officers in OCN, but here in the PAW, we have an overburdened RCMP force.
Well, we have 2, right? So we have 2 sets of we have First Nation safety officers, our community safety officers, the same, more or less the same thing. We have the RCMP, they have Manitoba First Nations policing. But I do agree with you that maybe one of the gaps is we don't have enough resources at that next level to support these guys. And I think if you listen to what Sergeant Stark has mentioned is that some of the things that these 2 fellows or 3 fellows are doing are offloading some of that stuff that they're busy with the call volume and shifting it over to them. So in the past, Intoxicated Person Detention Act would be more than likely handled by them because they're the only one doing it. Now, our 3 safety officers are taking care of that. So if you look at back to that graph, there was 400 and some calls. That is diverting some of the work away from and allowing the RCMP to deal with the things that they should be dealing with. But I do agree with you, maybe we have a lack of resources, not only at the RCMP level, but we have a lack at the CSO level, and it's been talking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Mr. Whaley,
Just for clarity, like recruitment across the nation is a challenge.
Yeah.
But once you go through depot and you're an officer, the deployment, is it discretionary on the individual member? Like if they're told to come to the POC and they block because of all the limitations that we talked about?
So prior to, I believe it was a month ago, the answer to that is absolutely yes, which is some of the reason why we're in the situation where we are today. However, after an extensive review of the totality of some of the problems that we're seeing on a provincial, municipal, federal level, they have now since taken that away. And it is now where you will sign on the dotted line to go anywhere in Canada, and that will be the expectation going forward. So there will be a little bit of delay because it's a 6-month process, and this decision only happened about a month ago. So you'll have 5 months of training cadets that will still be able to say, I don't want to go here, I'd rather go there. But at that point, where that 5 months is now gone through, it'll be held anywhere in Canada. And you'll go where you're needed.
that's great.
So just a supplemental, in recognition of that, then would it be your view that we can anticipate more members coming here?
Yes, so we do have, right now, what we're doing to mediate some of our vacancies is we've got federal police force or federal employees, RCMP members from different provinces coming and assisting us in this location, the PAW specifically, as well as other detachments from our southern provincial detachments and members from other northern detachments that are a little bit slower, that have the time and ability to extend 1 or 2 members to assist us. So we're able to maintain our policing objectives because of that. And we do have one recruit identifier, 1 full member identified to come here in November. And then we do have conversations on pretty much the daily, if not for sure bi-weekly, where we're talking to our staffing and identifying our needs for now, our needs coming up, and projecting further into the future. And they're working to get more cadets coming. So we do have a good surplus of cadets that are in the training and about to go into training. It's to get them through, and then we'll be able to get them into places like the PAW where they're needed. So the PAW is a priority. Because of our member and file income ratio, they are working diligently to try and get us more cadets. It will be a cadet situation because it's a lot easier to tell a cadet, this is your first posting, this is where you're gonna go. Versus telling a experienced officer that may have limitations, that wouldn't be able to come here, to tell them to come here. And then further to that, it's just, you know, the recruitment that we're trying to get people engaged for when our more senior guys that are here are gonna move out. So that planning process is always in motion. It's fluid and it's moving pretty much on the minute.
That's good news because we have 14 or 15 members here that are living within those limitations that aren't appealing to other officers.
Yeah.
So not wanting to go to the PAW seems to
We've had a
But
great,
not a good excuse to
Yeah.
give you a pass on coming.
so true, very true, and I agree with you 100%. We've had very good and positive results from the out of provincial. So the guys that are coming here are seeing the PAW for what it is, and we've actually had really good comments coming from those members that are seeing it. They're extending it past and they're getting more people interested to, hey, you know what? The things that we're hearing are true. The PAW is a great place to work. It's awesome for experience, especially as a new member where you get to cover off just about everything under the sun for investigational abilities and teachings and understanding. So, you know, I've been here and I said it to Andre before. I came here for a 2-year stint and I've been here for 10 years and I don't know what it is, but it grabbed hold of me and it won't let go. But I appreciate it and I enjoy it.
And that's what we want. We want members to come here and make a long time.
For your position with the MMA, is there ever been discussions about prorating what the RCMP costs are? Like, if our vacancy rate is 50%, I'm gonna assume that maybe Swan River, Dauphin is also, missing members has, and I know the costs are high. Could we not look at offsetting some of those costs and then maybe doing something locally?
Yeah,
with
so
that money?
under, like, right now, at the provincial level, we're under what they call a municipal services contract with the RCMP. So we're grouped in with other municipalities, and I can't remember how many they are in Manitoba, but we share all these costs. When it comes to, when Colin's speaking about, being short members, we're not paying for members that aren't here. We don't pay for members that are at the RM. And so if you see our projected budget at the beginning, when we were talking about RCP earlier this year, was around 3.8 million. And we actually, as a council, said, listen, we're not budgeting $3.8 million because we know that we're gonna struggle to fill it. We're gonna drop it down to the 3.2 million or wherever we ended up with, to say, let's wait and see what happens. And if it comes in where we get more, which hopefully we do, and we get a full complement, we'll deal with the variance at that time. And we'll have to figure it out, but, so that's where it is right now. But to talk about the whole provincial, we've had our community, we put together a bunch of work, information to show it nationally in Ottawa, what the picture of the RCP costs look like to a small municipality like Paul. And when they compare it, and they use as an example, if they compare our tax structure and how that's charged to Ottawa, Ottawa residents in similar homes would be paying about $25,000 a year municipal tax. And so everybody knows it's not working, everybody knows it's wrong. I think it's gonna take a little bit more time because they are working on it now, and I think it has a lot more attention because there's more municipalities doing it. But you're absolutely right, Penny. Glen Falon pays no dollars to RCMP based on population. Swan River pays like 900,000 or something, or 800,000. The PAW is budgeted 3.2 million, that's what we think it's gonna be. If we had a full complement, it would be 3.8 million. We want a full complement, but we wanna make sure that the application is, they modernize the funding formula for RCMP. And again, this is not Colin, this is not a local issue, this is a federal issue, and I always try to explain that when we're complaining about the RCMP cost, we're not complaining about.
On the CSOs, Tuesday to Fridays, the work bracket is, there's nothing on the weekend, and that's obviously a conscious choice, I'm just trying to understand.
Cost, honestly, it's cost right now, Ken. It's been talked about at council a few times, at council manage, and so if you think about adding another CSO or 2 CSO, that's about $150,000 a year, like guesstimate, 75,000 per person, not including the equipment that has to go along with it. The council is looking at that for sure right now and to incorporate it into the next year's budget, because I believe there should be 4. But the credit to our CFOs, these guys will work overtime, they do shift their schedules around to meet what's going on within the community, and they have conversations with Colin, so.
Another reason to compliment that, Mr. Whaley, was that, for the local businesses. So that they could be, pardon me, you can't hear me?
I didn't hear you, but
It was to compliment the local businesses so that they could be visible during the work week.
that's what I understood.
So maybe put that up there as, CSO hours, not an average. Go ahead, I just don't say.
So I think one of the challenges that I would say is that I actually think crime has increased. I know for us personally, we have had a ton of stuff that has happened over the past 2 months in our area, and we've lived there for 5 years, and in the past year or two, like, we've only seen things get worse. My children are traumatized just from what has happened and what goes on in our back lane. I understand we moved, within a block from a bar, so we knew that there was going to be some stuff going on, but that's the neighborhood that I grew up in. I was very excited to move back there, to have my children grow up there, and I don't want to be there anymore. I've always been a staunch advocate and supporter of the PAW. I've always promoted the PAW. Any person that I've come across, I have tried to convince them to move here, or if they already live here, not to leave. I sit on the destination marketing committee, which the mandate is to promote the PAW as a desirable place to live, work, and play. And I'm finding it increasingly difficult to support that mandate and to promote that mandate. Like I said, I was very excited to move to the neighborhood and have my family grow up there, and that's not the case anymore. Personally, I don't call the RCMP as much anymore because sometimes I've been laughed at or non-validated when I've called for things that I understand are petty and aren't a priority to you. But I think one of the challenges is that sometimes we are so focused on those major crimes that we lose sight of the impact of all of those minor crimes. Like, if I take into consideration all of the minor crimes that have happened in the past few months and compare it to, say, the dollars in a drug bust, I would say that the minor crimes that we have been subjected to in the last 3 months hold just as much weight and value as a $250,000 or a $500,000 drug bust. Both like financially, emotionally, all of those things. So I don't know, I hate not having solutions. I'm usually the person who comes with complaints and then has solutions. I don't know what they are, but I'm not trying to crap on you guys by any means. I get that there's systemic problems and there's things that you have control over, and you don't. But I get frustrated with hearing the same things. I also used to sit on council, so I've stood where these guys have stood and been on the receiving end of the community, but I get frustrated when, now here we are 8 years down the road and it seems like nothing's changed and we're still talking about the same things. We did the crime prevention through environmental design 10 years ago. Where was that plan and what did we do with it, right? And now we've spent money again to do it. And when I heard you say, oh, so that people can make their homes safer, like, that kind of frustrated me a little bit, because we pay a lot of money towards community safety and our taxes, and I don't think the onus should be put back on the homeowners. We have lights, we have cameras, they don't care, I'm sorry, but they don't. We live within sight of the police station, and all of these things go down right there. There's just no fear of consequences anymore, it kind of feels like, and it's really frustrating.
No, and I appreciate, Kristen, you sharing that story. Like, I mean, I would be as frustrated as well, and I wouldn't be happy with it, and I hope that we can continue to work to try to improve it. And in some way, did you want to say something?
Yeah, Crystal, right? I think first and foremost, I want to thank you for your honesty, because that's really the start. And I said at the beginning of this, it all starts with you. So thank you for your honesty and your openness to bring that to the table. I'll bring that back to our membership and talk to them about professionalism, especially when we look at, the types of complaints that come in. I'm not going to make excuses by any sense of imagination, but when you look at where we are, we have to prioritize. And I say that openly to everybody. When it comes to, like, let's say the theft of a bicycle, I don't know if this is a situation, but I'm just using it as an example, so please forgive me. But when it comes to, let's just say, the theft of a bicycle in comparison to, let's say, a drug investigation that could bring down multiple people, for multiple offenses, take drugs, not only drugs, but weapons and firearms and explosives off the street. That takes not one person, that takes multiple people, long periods of time. When you talk about a warrant that we have to start from very grassroots to its end, it could take up months to collect the information and gather the information that we need to act upon it. So yes, you're right. There are things that happen to get less prioritized, and there are things that unfortunately leave the perceptions and the understanding that we don't care. And I apologize for that, because really that's not the case from us. That's not what we want to project to the community. That's not what we can project or should be projecting to the community. So anybody and everybody, I'm gonna just say our apologies to you right now for putting you in that kind of a situation. Please have some understanding of where we are and the situations that we have to face, but understand it will get better. I promise you, this will not be the way it'll be forever. We will start getting more membership here. We will start, and the process has already begun. We'll be able to address those more minor situations at a more prioritized level. And don't give up the hope, right? This is still a pod, it hasn't changed, right? It still has lots and lots of positives. So look at the silver lining in the clouds, don't look at the darkness, because it has a lot to offer. So thank you.
I just want to add one thing to that. Sergeant Stark covered it off very well, but you did hit the nail on the head. It's the lack of consequence and no fear of consequence. And that's not something that we have control over.
Yeah, totally under.
That is a national issue, and we wish we had the control over that, but we don't. It's nationwide. It's not even nationwide, it's an international issue. Everywhere you go, you'll run into that problem.
And myself and Sergeant Stark and my friend, Mr. Jermaine talked about this on Sunday.
Yes, we're,
Yeah, specifically around consequences. Renee, and then, Doug, sorry.
I just have a question.
Yeah.
Regarding the hours that are worked by the CSOs. I noted that there are 4 days at 10 hours a day. That is worked, and I'm just wondering, what the rationale is to put the 40 hours over a 4-day work week as opposed to getting a 5th day in there at 8 hours a day.
Maybe I can answer that.
So that there is like increased coverage.
The reason why we went to 4 is that, we were finding 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock, especially in the summertime to 10 o'clock, we used to have it go from 12 to 10, because that was our, if you wanna call it, hours that they were out roaming around and stuff. So now the spring, the winter time's coming, we moved it back from 10 to 8 for the simple fact that after 8 o'clock now it gets dark, everything is closed, you don't see much more. So, but then it started to increase more in the morning times. So we're kind of trying to fluctuate where the most that we can be do better hour wise. Right now for the four days gives us 10 hours, the guys for 10 hours a day. Part of the reason too is we only got 2 guys. Right, and I can only work in a certain amount of night.
Well, I guess the question is, Mike, why did you decide 4 days a week, 10 hours a day instead of 5 days a week, 8 hours a day from, I don't know,
Like I said, the reason why the 10-hour days is because 10, 11 o'clock, we have a lot of activity going around town. IPDAs, unwanteds, like we get called from the banks and stuff like that. Can you come and ask them to leave and stuff like that? So we were trying to cater to the work hours of town, businesses, stuff like that.
What about the Fridays?
So it's what you're asking.
Fridays are not included.
No,
No,
Fridays are,
I'm not looking at, I'm sorry, maybe I didn't explain. I'm not looking at like the time that you start your day and end your day. What I'm talking about is the fact that there are 4 days a week that the CSOs are active, right?
yes,
So, and it's a 40 hours over those 4 days.
yes.
What I was wondering is if it might be considered to be more beneficial to have those 40 hours over a period of 5 days. So that, because there's on the Fridays, there's the banks that made assistance or other places, so it was, I just wondered why.
Well, we could go back to an 8-hour day, that will start at 8:30 to 5 or 4:30.
I'll help out a little bit, Mike, I think because I think I've heard this from somebody, but it's the coverage time, I think that's what you said earlier, like you need to have the 10 hours in the day. Because it's that busy for the 10 hours. And if you reduce it to 8 hours, then you miss a busy period that you think you should have somebody here. I think one of the solutions and we brought it up is we maybe need a couple more CSOs to cover those other days off so that they can give some more responses. And this is, again, comes back to the community understanding what that investment is. So that when we.
With two more officers, we could probably do a 7-day.
Well, I'm just
Well,
gonna expand on that, so like. I don't know, I'm just gonna be blunt about it, why is the focus on serving the businesses when it's the community members who are feeling afraid? Like, I'm sorry, but the stuff that goes down in my back lane doesn't happen from 10 AM to 8 PM, it happens after dark. And I know that, like, and again, not your fault because it's how things are set up, but I mean, you guys have more officers on during the day than you do during night because how their stuff is formulated, and to me, it doesn't make sense, because like I said, all the crime that's happening in my area isn't happening during the day, and like, again, knowing how much I pay in taxes towards community safety and hearing that the mandate kind of the community safety officers is to serve the business community is really frustrating and doesn't do anything to alleviate my fears.
Just a make a correction, that, just 1 second though, so just a correction though, like, part of it is the business community, but part of it is these guys do go about all their neighborhoods and sort of stuff. So I don't wanna think that they're just focused on business alone. There is a bigger focus, but point taken, I do agree that what do we do after hours? One thing Mike didn't mention, Mike is here, Monday to Friday though. And he does work 8 hours a day, and so he does cover that one day off on his own. And if needed, he can call one of his guys to come in and help if required, so.
Sorry, just one suggestion, like sometimes if I phone the RCMP because there's intoxicated people in my back alley, like if the dispatcher gave me the message, like, you could actually phone the community safety officer and they might be able to get there quicker, but I've never given that message when I phone the RCMP, so maybe like breaking down that communication barrier there so that, like, I get that you guys might be dealing with, something went down and there was weapons and all of you guys are tied up and that's a priority, and I totally get that. But like, knowing that there's another resource or service there, I think might help.
I'm just gonna quickly, it's all right.
No, I was just gonna say, we do are gonna provide the information with all the contact information, everybody's information at the end. It'll be online, it'll be easier to.
For sure, but not everybody's gonna see that, and then in an emergency, when stuff's going down, like I said, if the dispatcher would say, like, did you know you could actually phone the community safety officers, like that might help alleviate things as well, right?
I just wanna address two things. One, you had mentioned that we've got more people working during the day than during the nights. That's false.
Okay, you.
So, we do have, more people working during the night than we do have during the day.
I'm not.
And it's because of our CSOs, where we're able to focus our attention into the more high-risk criminal activity and allow our CSOs to pick up some of the slack for the daytime, where they're dealing with a lot of our IPDAs, our intoxicated persons. So, I just want to clear that up so that it's clear across everybody's understanding that that's not true. We do actually have, that sort of extended nighttime stuff. The other thing I want to address is, the CSOs and the RCMP are very close in communication. So we have, messaging networks. So when the calls come into us and we can't respond, if we have the information generated in the file, we can dispatch the CSOs. So what we do is we tell everybody that calls, if it's a call for service, we don't generate calls for service locally. We put them through to our dispatch that comes out of Winnipeg that provides that file and the information collection and then presses it out to us, where we can respond or contact the CSOs. We prefer it that way because we have the ability to go, wait a minute, there's weapons involved that maybe they don't know about, and we need to go to that call versus having the CSOs have to make that determination or find out themselves the hard way. They went to something that should have been there and it didn't work out good. So safety for the CSOs and credibility to the program, that's the stuff that we determine when the information comes into us. And where we have that connection, we are able to dispatch them as well as calling the town office where they can be dispatched through as well. So that communication is.
1 second, there was one more question here first though.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
No, just clarification then. On that webpage, could you indicate that first call goes to the RCMP for dispatch?
Yeah, I think actually
The first call always goes to the RCMP.
But I mean, on that page, when I was asking that question, that was no.
Yeah, you'll see at the last slide there's a bunch of contact information, but we can.
As she was saying, like, I live downtown as well, and I can see the intoxication
Yeah.
starting at 10 AM. And I can see the emergency people have to be called for because it gets to that level.
Yeah.
I can see that happening because I'm tired of, you know, I don't.
Yeah, no, there's a gap there.
Did I have a suggestion for the program?
Yeah.
It's great having it on websites and stuff. I know a lot of people that don't go on computers, don't go on the town website. Would it be possible to make like window stickers where you could put in businesses
Good idea.
with all the numbers? Cause it's not just the business owners going,
Yeah.
maybe it's Mary down the street that saw
Yeah.
something that sees the number. And you know what? If
that's
every business had a sticker on the window that, a lot of people don't even know what the service is.
Yeah.
The other part of that is, and I don't know if it's possible, but cover more hours, there's always a staggered start time. Like if Mike's working 8 to 5,
Yeah, they always have to work in pairs, so Mike's usually on his own.
okay,
Yeah, so Mike does,
the pair thing.
the other thing, yeah, so they have to work together and as part of their protocols. One of the things that Mike, we're not talking about it here because it's really unsafe, but Mike spends a lot of time dealing with bylaw violations, you know, that type of stuff as well as part of his role. And then also dealing with any of the minor stuff that might come in on the Monday that the guys are on.
I'm not really observant in a lot of ways. I don't like to categorize, but I'll use the term transients, and I think. I'm just wondering what the trend is, if there's any monitoring of how that, the numbers, the group size, the age classes and whatnot. Seems to me that that's increasing in all of those categories from 10 years ago. Am I right?
Right now it is, yeah.
And do we have any yes or for information on how many folks are in our community?
Well, the Friendship Center told me on Saturday or Friday or whenever I was talking to them last week, that there's 200 evacuees right now in town from, Matthias Club. And they're waiting for their community to open up, so that they can get back home. That's what I was told. So again, we don't get official reports. We ask the same questions as everybody else, like, you know, what's going on in the communities, what's happening. Maybe, you know, I don't know if, I know Krista's here from the Harm Network or Renee from Family Resource Center. I can't say her name, or I don't know if anybody else can shed any information on that.
Pre-COVID, when I worked at the Friendship Center, the average was about 30 to 50 individuals who utilized Osprey Place and were homeless, if we're looking at in those terms.
Okay.
However, COVID swelled the numbers exponentially, and I think by the end we were serving like 75 meals a day.
And I think it's
Again.
still around that for meal serving, it's around that 75.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, it's slightly older information when I worked there, but that was the case
Yeah.
back then.
And that's still happening today, and we're in continuous communication with Canadian Mental Health, out of Swan, who manages that, and they know, they have the same struggles where they're swelled and they can't serve people like that, just one second.
She has a question.
So like my mom said, me and my sister had a lot of trauma in the past couple months. But there was one specific thing that happened. I go to a Pasqua during the summer for a day camp because my parents have to work. And there was this guy, he came and he started recording me and my friend. So I was wondering if like at schools you can make like, maybe what my dad does, because we have a pool in our yard, he puts a tarp around the gate. So maybe something like that, like a blockage of sight or like just so that like they can't see the kids, they can't record them, do whatever, so that.
That's a good suggestion. Maybe there's something we can do. And I hope that, I'm assuming that was reported to the RCMP and all that sort of good stuff.
Yeah, not to, I mean, we haven't had any follow-up, and again, I know you guys are busy, but I think that's maybe another gap is like, sometimes we don't always get follow-up, so like, I have no idea what happened, and again, I'm not saying that it wasn't a priority, I know like, you know, you guys might do your piece, and then sometimes there's just gaps with follow-up or getting that information back, but yeah.
One thing I can just address with that, when it comes to the follow-up, when you make a complaint like that, what generally happens is the members will come back, read the complaint, view it, and then try and contact the person either right away, or they'll finish up what they have going on. So look at, prioritize it, make that call back. And when we don't have any answer, and it's like, maybe they've tried, and I'm not saying this isn't your case, so please don't take it that way, but it's one of the things that we see happen continually where we try to call back and we try to get the people involved to answer their phones and we just get a blank number. So it's not something that if it's lower priority that we would keep open, and the fact that, you know, we can't keep calling over and over and over to expend that time to call back. If you're not gonna answer the phone or be available for us when we do come or knock on your door, right? So there is a percentage of that does happen. It's unfortunate, but it's just how things happen in situations that we are right now. So I apologize if you weren't, I can't speak to why, but I will look into it. For sure.
And like, I will say, like, we've had a few things happen. We had somebody walk into our house in broad daylight. And really freaked out the kids, like walked into the room where they were and all that sort of stuff. And the officer that responded then, like, I know all of your officers were great, but I just wanna say, like, I know I sound like I've been crapping on the RCMP a lot, like, she was phenomenal. Florence had to go in for an interview, she was phenomenal with her then, and she was very good at like follow-up, like she called and, you know, let us know, like, you know, the person had been picked up, they're being held and like that sort of stuff, so we have had positive experiences and interactions, I just wanted to say that.
So just, I wanna move on, but I just wanna give an opportunity to Renee, and so maybe put her on the spot a little bit, but when we talk about the services that are being provided, the funding that's required, are you getting the supports that you need to be able to sort of help that community safety? And then again, I look to you too, Krista.
Thanks for the question. It's a good one. We are getting a portion of supports and primarily our services are more preventative and interventive.
Yeah.
In nature, right? So and our focus really is on youth and families that face multiple barriers. It's really hard to get the supports that we need to engage with the families and the youth who need us. We have to submit proposals, we have to be the winners of the submissions and then get the money. So it's not just a matter of addressing, saying there are these needs. This is what is needed to help resolve situations or make things better. And I'm gonna say that probably we maybe get about 20% of what we actually need in order to successfully provide services in the community.
And that's what I wanted to just highlight, this was Renee's group, you know, that's an investment in prevention. So we're talking a lot of enforcement and reaction to something that's already gone wrong. But I also believe there's a lack of actual investment in creating a prevention program so that we don't get ourselves in this place in the first place.
I know you want to close it out, that's why I want to.
No, go ahead.
My last point. I'm a citizen before I'm a counselor. The reason I became a counselor is because I am a citizen and care about this community. And something that isn't going well, and I'm gonna say the quiet part out loud, is our transient shelter needs to be addressed. I brought it up at council. It needs to be an honest discussion on the services available. I am the first person that will give you a sandwich when you're hungry and a bed to sleep in when you're needed. But unfortunately, our current situation with our transient population, we are only enabling and not helping. We've put the cart before the horse. And by not having a meaningful permanent residence to put them into, or addictions help to put them into, or to even feed them properly, we are failing the people on our street. And that homeless shelter, as I'll call a transient shelter, needs to be addressed. And possibly, I'll just say that we're allowed, possibly shut down for a period of time to learn what it will do to our community.
I'm just gonna take two more, so Kenny, your hand was up first.
Thanks, Randy, because that's a segue into what I was gonna ask was what's going on with the homeless shelter, because we have a downtown. Within a 1 block radius, 1 to 2 block radius, we've got a liquor store. We have everything to feed addictions downtown, and we have no supports that are sustainable, or like Randy's mentioned, there's issues there. And we're gonna ask all these officers here, once it gets cold, to kick all these people outside while they're trying to feed their addictions in a location which is downtown. Crystal's problem is her location to a liquor store, 2 vendors, a bar, and a cannabis shop. That's all within that area, and we don't wanna have a shelter, we don't want any other place for people to go, we wanna sell them all of this stuff, but we don't wanna deal with the fallout of it.
Yeah.
So have we looked at doing what Thompson did, and I don't even know how well it's doing up there with them moving the liquor store and maybe having the dry out. Like we really have, we have these,
There's
all these people this stuff, and then we're upset because they're fighting on Crystal's back lane.
Yeah, no, I think there is a lot of services, those council managers with them, but just one second. Renee, did you want?
Well, and I mean, some totally valid points. We do not have the services in our community or surrounding area to address people's addiction matters. A 28-day ban is not long enough, especially when you look at co-occurring disorders, whether mental health is involved. There really is so very, the list is long, this long for this much space. We don't have a detox center, and I'm gonna be frank, it won't matter where you move from the shelter. People who are addicted will go where they need to go to get what they need to sustain their addiction. We also need to look at preventative matters. There's a number of young people growing up in the community and surrounding communities that if we put in preventative measures now, learning and developing skills to cope in healthy ways will not end up on the streets with addictions. So it's kind of a double-edged sword, if you will. But until we actually have services, I'm hoping our provincial office, our MLA's office, our federal offices can look at ensuring that we have supports here. You know, I mean, it can't be just that 28-day bed. There needs to be a longer sustainable treatment plan for anybody with addictions. And we need to also ensure that everything that we do in any service is trauma informed. And that there is training on reconciliation and truth. Because we have a high Indigenous population in the town of the Paws, about 50%. And that doesn't include surrounding communities that you know, come and go. Our school population is 75% Indigenous. When I look around this room, you know, I see again the imbalance. So I think that's really, really important. And these aren't criticisms to anybody or anything, any system in particular. It's just what I see as needs that really, really need to be a big part of what we're talking about. This report, I commend the town and I'm happy to be a part of everything that we're doing here. But I know that if we don't have commitments from the other levels of government, we're not going to be able to address those needs.
And I'll just kind of springboard and try to wrap this up unless, Councilor Commodore has something. But I think we all agree, the Oscar's Place is not functioning the way it should be functioning. For all sorts of reasons, but some of the reasons are is the support services that are needed to be connected to that building. I don't think anybody here has got, you know, wants people to freeze to death or just saying, we don't care about you. But what we're saying is that process that we have right now is not working. Similar to what we say around, you know, when we talk about harm reduction. Harm reduction is a very important part of protecting people.
Yep.
And so if you read about it, it is. But it requires a whole bunch of other stuff that's missing. And that's what we talk about. We're not saying get rid of it, don't support people. We're saying you're not doing enough. And come at it with that approach that says, We need addiction counselors, we need supportive housing, we need supportive, employment. We had a supportive employment community, program in town, they came in and shut it down, didn't even tell anybody. We found out by accident. So those are the things that, and I'm sorry to get on my soapbox, but those are the things that we've got to keep working on.
I'm just wondering, I'm gonna ask Kristen if I can put her on the spot. Because not everybody understands truly what harm reduction is. I think a lot of people have the impression that it's clean neighbors, right? And it's way beyond that. So maybe Krista can just give us a real brief description of what harm reduction truly is and how that kind of goes into some of the stuff I was talking about in terms of family. Yeah, so.
Come on up here, Krista.
Oh, Jesus.
While we're putting her on the spot, can I just ask, like, do we get any sort of funding from like liquors and lotteries? Cause I mean, they're profiting off of
Excellent.
the addiction, and so how does Winnipeg get money from them for their community safety officers and all of that sort of stuff?
I mean, we do get some funding, I don't know if it's directly related to none of the liquors and waters, we can check that. But nothing, yeah, we might, yeah.
So they may be applying for the community funding or. Like they do have sponsorships, so we've applied for this, but we did Carter Street Fest. That could,
Yeah, maybe,
but like the Winnipeg, it's completely different funding. I know. As to the province.
So, but it's a good question.
Yeah,
Krista.
we did apply last year, we got something last year from them.
How much?
Okay.
Yeah, right, how much money do they get from our?
Yeah, no, we will, that's a good question and we should get that.
Winnipeg gives a percentage of profits.
So just let's finish up with Krista, just sort of giving us a 2-minute blurb on harm reduction.
Yeah, I don't know if I can give a 2-minute blurb, but I can tell you where my heart lies with harm reduction. So we actually had a film crew up here doing some work actually with folks that we work with to do a video around harm reduction and safety for what that means for people who use drugs in our community, which is really powerful. One of the questions that they asked was, what is harm reduction? What does harm reduction mean to you? What is harm reduction? And through all of the stuff that I've learned and realizing I worked in harm reduction long before I had the title of working in harm reduction, is that harm reduction, the basis of harm reduction is love. The absolute cornerstone of harm reduction is love and care. And I'm probably gonna get emotional, so I apologize for this, but when we work with folks, we understand that people come from so many different walks of life. Nobody at their kindergarten graduation says, I want to be homeless and be on substances and not able to manage my life. So we know that a lot of that comes from a lot of trauma, intergenerational trauma, residential school trauma. I don't need to list all the things. There's a million different things. People are using substances to numb the pain, to deal with things that they've gone through. And so when it's like, just boot them out of here, just take the liquor away, just all of this, it's not that simple. It's not that simple physically, mentally, emotionally, any of that. So harm reduction comes from a place of love, comes from a place of kindness, treating people and respecting people for who they are as people first, based on their behavior and not around what substance they may or may not be using. We really want to work with folks to keep them as safe as we can. We understand that there might be illegal activity that happens and we want them just to stay as safe as they can. So yeah, it is giving out new supplies if that's what's needed, so that our STBBI rates don't increase. We know that when folks are sharing needles, sharing other pieces of harm reduction equipment, drug use equipment, STBBIs increase. We can talk the dollars and cents of that at some point. I don't want to get into that now, but I can tell you that it's a lot cheaper to give out harm reduction supplies than it is to treat one person for one case of hepatitis C or one person to keep someone healthy with HIV. It's a absorbent, like crazy amount cheaper. So it works. It's evidence-based, it works. But at the cornerstone of everything, it's treating people with kindness, treating people with love. We want to make sure that people feel accepted. People will come and talk to you and listen to you and can have a conversation with you, and you can support them whether they're using substances or not. And I think that's where we kind of stand in harm reduction. And we really just want people to understand that treating people with who they are and meeting people where they're at. Our stance is not like you must get into treatment. Forcing people into treatment, it's been proven that that doesn't typically work. People need to be at a space where they are willing to go into treatment. The problem is like, for example, here, when they are, the cycles that they have to go through to get there is absolutely crazy. Then they get into a 28-day treatment, they're doing really good, and then what? We have no supportive housing to help them out into, they're going right back into where they were, likely living with the people that are all still living and were like, you know, dealing with substances. You can only say no so many times, right? It gets really, really hard. The supports with mental health and support all around that people need, we just don't have that. So harm reduction is our little piece to try to keep people as safe as they can. But for me, the cornerstone of harm reduction is just treat people as people, treat people with love and kindness, and look at them for who they are.
Thanks.
Okay, we get in trouble here. So,
He's gonna say.
so, yeah, so
Perfect.
this is one of these things where, my wife and I have some conversation, because I understand the love, where it comes from, the idea of wanting people to be better people, knowing that there is good people that weren't given the proper chance in life, okay? But at the same time, in the reality of where we live, in the reality of where we're at right now in the fall, I think you hit the nail on the head, where essentially we're only doing maybe a quarter of the job. And by only doing a quarter of the job, are we actually helping people, or are we making situations worse? Maybe not for that person, maybe it's okay, but the overall, why are we here, right? Like, I'm not saying it's just harm reduction, but it's, you know, overall, the extra support, the housing, the support staff, the jobs, the education, the training, the actual like going home and having somebody to show you love, to get that love, where you're not getting it from a needle, or you're not getting it from a crack pipe. That part, we don't have the resources to put that into place. And it doesn't sound, as hard as you guys are working, Krista, you know, I know you work hard, and I know you guys are into it and all that kind of stuff. But as hard as you guys are working, it doesn't even sound like we're close to a plan to be able to get those in place. Or maybe there's a framework of a plan, but the plan is more of a dream than a plan. In the sense of, here's what we would like to do, here's what we want to happen, but at the end of the day, we don't have the money, we don't have the people, we don't have the resources, and what ends up is you have this thing that was started and created with such a sense of good faith and kind hearts and love, but it turns into something that is an unintended consequence, where you have people just sitting, like, how I see it right now is there's a level of comfortability where people feel comfortable doing drugs and drinking and just they feel comfortable doing it, right? And as much as these guys drive around, try and make them feel a little comfortable, as much as I go in my back lane, try and kick them down the road, they still are clearly comfortable enough to just sit in the middle of a street and shoot a needle, you know? And that's the real problem, is that the comfortability level of these people committing what we consider to be these petty crimes. Like, you're not gonna send an RCMP officer to go and bust a guy that's sitting there doing drugs. What are they actually gonna do? Like, there's nothing to, like, throw them in jail, so that helps nobody. It spends money, it wastes the time, and it doesn't help the person on drugs, right? But there's no, it just seems to me like we're just spinning our tires here, guys. Like, we're just keep going, and then, like, what I would like to see, correlation does not always imply causation, but I would love to see the stats on crime and the harm reduction when we started rolling things out and how it all sorts of comes together. And then take a look at it and say, guys, is this really working? Or is there a different way of applying the same love and applying those same thoughts in order to get to a better desired outcome that works better for
I think it's
Okay.
worse than that, but you need more now.
Yeah.
Like, there needs to be more.
Yeah.
I disagree with that.
Yeah, so I don't wanna spend the next hour talking about harm reduction, because there's a couple of things, and it is a hot topic, and we all know that there's a lot of things missing. I'll let Renee wrap it up real quick,
Okay.
and then we're gonna move on.
We'll get coffee together.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Honestly, though,
and you know, I know I'm gonna rush us along here because, you know, we're an hour and a half in. As I mentioned, we could probably spend a whole afternoon talking about this stuff and coming up with a plan. But I just wanna commit to you that this is a start. Like, you know, we're trying to get it started. It's not gonna be our last one that we talk about, because we're not gonna have all the answers either, and we need our community to help us. So just
Just in response to Jordan's comments, he's right, you know, he is right about, you know, we only can do so much and there's, you know, but it also goes along the lines of like child poverty reduction. You know, we have like the highest child poverty rate in the country, our federal writing. Crime reduction. RCMP, they're working their butts off to do what they can. They're actually more involved with law enforcement than they are with crime prevention and reduction because they're so busy enforcing. So no, I totally hear you, and my part was out, you guys, I know where you live,
Yeah.
and all I can think of is like. So you know something, I'm gonna suggest, Joanne and I actually have another commission we have to figure away. I'm gonna suggest that you have another few evenings like this.
Oh, we will.
Because this is good discussion, and I think we need to have more of it, because we need to actually get to the point where we actually start implementing ideas. And putting together some kind of an actual plan with community, we need community invested.
Now, it's a great segue into the next part of this, is what do we need to start doing? And Renee kicked this off, is that we maybe need to have more community meetings. And one of the things I think we're gonna see, one, you know, again, once it rolls out, and I don't know if it looks the same as the last one, because I didn't see the last one, but I have seen this one. The Community Safety Wellbeing Fund is something that the community is gonna have to action, because it's not gonna, you know, we can have one champion from the community sort of lead it and fly the flag, but we need a whole pile of work behind that. And it's not that easy, so you know, we need to meet more often, and I appreciate Renee.
We'll be at the tables, always, Municipal Family Resource Center, just for those who don't know, our name changed from the.
Yeah, I can't say the word, so.
To Municipal Family Resource Center, so. We all.
So again, we will have more meetings, so we'll write that down, you know, more often and have these community discussions, which this council has been trying to commit to being open and as transparent as possible.
I think Brian had a really good idea about having like the numbers for the community safety
Yeah.
officers and stuff more. visible.
Stickers for the,
But even like a
Yeah.
nice big sign or something, like signs around the community, like,
post a big sign, CSOs.
yeah.
For watching.
Yeah. And like, I
Again,
love the idea of cameras, like, sometimes when people are there and they're doing their thing, I will just take out my phone and I will start recording, and I don't even have to say anything. They don't like the fact that you're standing there and they can see that you're recording them, and they'll move along.
So install community cameras, and some of that work's already underway, like I know, we've, you know, looked at the grow funding and those type of things, but budget's coming up in the next little while, so I'm sure this council has a lot of support for those type of things.
Something that some other.
Public cameras?
You may have heard of it too, is, or maybe you already have a list of people who have cameras in the community.
Yes, good point.
So, I can just address that, the trends, and maybe, Provost Cruiser could maybe add to it too as well, but the trends towards cameras in communities is expediting quite rapidly. And the trend is that more cameras is better. But the hiccups that we find with that is, again, getting in contact with the homeowner, et cetera. So there are cameras that are coming out that allow accessibility upon purchase, that you would sign off to say, you know, certain businesses or certain individuals or certain police forces could have permission to have access to those cameras for certain situations. So I agree. I truly do believe that cameras is a huge thing. Automatic license plate readers at the entrance and exits of our communities, because we have a lot of transient population that come commit the crime and leave. And it's of ours where we don't maybe have the eyes and ears of the community to assist us to say, hey, I saw this black vehicle or brown vehicle or white vehicle leaving the community in this direction, right? Those license plate readers would automatically capture the license plate and provide us the information that we require immediately to go, that's the registered owner who lives in this area. Pointing to start looking is right there. So that's a possibility as well.
So just a quick health check in here, how many people that have cameras in their homes right now is it? Who has cameras in their homes today? Do you have, Brian?
I do, yeah.
Brian should, or no? But most people do all the. Yeah. I'm not, just
one more thing. When we deal with investigations, we come in contact with the community, with the representatives of the residents, et cetera. Where we talk about, hey, I understand you saw this. We need to get a statement from you. And when we ask you to get a statement, it's because we ourselves can't take your word without having some written form of actually saying you did see this, this, and this to take to court. The unfortunate part about that is it makes you have to go to court to say that was the statement I gave and be subjected to cross-examination. When you have a camera on your house, I don't need to call you to court. The Crown doesn't need to call you to court. All I need to say is that this was your video taken at this particular time of this location. That's it. That's all. So you don't have to waste your time going away from work, losing, revenues coming in. I can take your statement, your video, and introduce it into court without actually having you to be there. And that's huge on both sides, because it saves court time and it saves yours.
So I heard you say earlier, more CSOs, I think I heard that. I also heard, so we can put that up there, more CSOs, what do we need to start doing? But on top of that, I also heard that the hours of coverage, how do we cover off those other hours? So, I guess a review of the coverage hours to make sure that we're getting. And then the other thing I heard is that, because I don't want this to be a belief, that we need to get into the residential areas that people are also paying significant property taxes that are getting covered. So I guess increase exposure to residential areas.
I'd like to add something about cameras. So we do actually keep a list of people with residences with cameras. And if anyone adds cameras, you can always let us know and we add them to that list. It helps us cover off the community. Right now, we're rolling out a system where if we need your camera footage, you'll get a community request from us. We'll talk to you and we'll be able to send you a link where you can upload your video to us. Eventually, other major centers are doing it. It's slow to roll out in Canada, but they'll eventually be able to share that directly with police services without us needing to request it. You'll just get an email or a text. The police are seeking evidence from something that happened in your area. Will you submit your camera footage? You click yes and it uploads.
Adding on to that, the RCMP is putting out a new system where it's a public address system. So that system will be incorporating not only just key players in the community, but also anyone that has an interest to know what's going on in the community, where we can put out public address to fan out to everybody in one text versus, maybe texting information to one group who texts to the next, to the next, to the next. So it will be a one family of public address to the community, to the province. It's actually in the works and should be coming out in the next little while. So you will be hearing something from us at some point in time.
And one last thing, people think that cameras are huge. Courts love cameras, it allows convictions. So cameras are key.
Quality cameras.
Yes.
Because when they're cheap, grainy, it means nothing, unfortunately, other than maybe a direction of travel.
Yeah.
On the correct time.
Yeah, correct. Well, and it's funny you mentioned that, because there's a lot of people that don't have the correct time.
That's less of an issue with newer cameras, because they're internet connected, so they sync to the correct time, but. Yeah, so
Time's
those
off.
systems,
Are they right?
Okay, we have another
you
question.
can figure it out.
I just have another suggestion. It's like last night at like 2 o'clock in the morning, there was this girl got ganged on. The ambulance came, the cops came, and I just want to make another suggestion to with the bar over there to like set some boundaries. Maybe try to set some boundaries where it's like no going out past a certain time. Stay in that hotel. You can't go out. If you're gonna go out, you gotta be silent because there's children there and just all that stuff. Like my sister's really sensitive. Like if there's a guy yelling and swearing, she's running in the house, she's plugging her ears, she's crying. I don't know what to do. My mom and dad are out there trying to solve it, telling him to stop, be quiet, go. And there's just a lot of fights happening. So yeah, that's just my suggestion.
No, that's a great, we could have bylaws for those type of things.
But we targeted.
I go on the same way.
Yeah, and maybe like like, I know you guys try, but like if you're able to like increase hours and resources and stuff, like. there's almost always stuff happening at 2 AM outside of the avenue, right? Like,
I know Mike's right now looking at a loitering bylaw, for within our community, and I know this council. Even though I know we're not allowed to do it, I would like to see some sort of curfew bylaw, although it's against the charter rights. And would probably impossible to enforce, but I say the heck with it, do it anyways.
Something challenges.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd like to add one topic to add to that. Oh, I would really like to review the needle distribution context within our community. I appreciate what was said from the harm reduction lady that was up here and a lot that needs to be shared. But the reason I'm saying this is because it has direct impact to our operations. And the way it directly impacts our operations is our officers are subjected to those needles. And when they get poked, they're out of service. They're not working for extended periods of time while they're basically going through, excuse my language, hell, medically on the cocktail to try and prevent any kind of diseases that could have been associated to that particular needle. There's no love being sought out to us when it comes to our harm and our safety. So I would like that really addressed because that's important to our operations and keeping our members engaged.
And so just to add to that, Colin, so to start, there is an actual program that they're working on right now. I was in a meeting this morning about that, specifically around those lines, about how that works. So all I can say is stay tuned, but don't lose it up there because that's a actual resolution that's been brought forward by this municipality to the provincial coffers across Manitoba, supporting all municipalities to come up with a way to manage the harm reduction supplies in a more effective and safe manner. Thank you.
As CSO, we go around, we pick up needles. We pick up anywhere between 50 to 300 a week. Needles. That's in playgrounds, parks, everywhere. So we would like to see them gone.
Yeah.
but maybe we need some more disposable
Yeah,
containers.
all I can say is stay tuned. All I can say is that I was on a call, I'm not saying, were you on my call this morning? I'm not in, Chris has seen myself in the meeting, I'm not in 100% support of what's going on there. But let's give it some time to work its way out and come up with a plan. All regions within Manitoba were charged, all healthcare regions were challenged by the provincial government and given some seed money to come up with a way of managing harm reduction supplies and how it should be done. I respect that it's coming back now, they have to report back, because it seems to be getting a little bit of traction in the last couple of weeks. So Liz, sorry, you had your hand up, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just what Crystal was talking about, it's not just around the bars, the transients, they're everywhere. And you know what, they tend to find a home that they're going to go to, whether they're drinking all day or partying, and as they said. Yeah, unfortunately, anyone can be addicted to alcohol, to drugs. But yeah, you hear it in the morning, they're still partying next door, you see people that I see downtown walking the streets and now they're coming to the house next door to me. They're all over. It's really hard. I don't like calling the RCMP all the time. Times that I do, they ask me, you know, your name, your birthday at 4 in the morning. I always forget what it is. But I don't call them that often. But when there's a fight going on or something like that, or somebody's, you know, waiting outside your house, you kind of want to do that. But yeah, it's unfortunate that we have this in our community and there's no set solution. What are we going to do? How can we do it? And it's not just our community, it's everywhere. But fortunately, yeah, we're living in this right now.
Can I quickly jump in here? Yeah, I kind of agree, but we are working with the council here to expand a bit more. If we get two more CSOs, we could do 12 hours, 7 days a week. So, and we can extend into the morning times and later nights, stuff like that. So we can be out there patrolling all around town, not just on the downtown area, but all around. So, but it is a work in progress, so.
And I also think that I would ask is that, what was brought up earlier is. We're spending a lot of time talking about enforcement. And there's a lot of services and other things missing within our community, as well as all of the preventative type of things that we should be doing. And so, I encourage everybody to, when you get an opportunity to speak to those elected, including us as council, to share that and pressure us to do more to stop making the RCMP or the CSOs busy.
Mayor Murphy, I was gonna say lobbying, like we talked about, the liquor lotteries.
Yeah.
Money, like,
Yeah.
gotta go after all the money we can get, knock down doors, like, I don't know, somebody from the province here, like.
She left, but I know Amanda's online.
That election day, but I mean, like, like, we got no input, like, I was told not to talk too much, but.
No, it's, and it's good, and what I can say is that your council is lobbying all the
Yeah,
time.
I agree, right, but like even us as
As
citizens, like
lobby.
we can bang on doors, knock on people's doors and,
Can we not,
There's,
can we not ask the liquor store and the bars to start hiring their own security guards and pay attention to what's going on the outside of their buildings?
And on their property, and one of the things is, I know it's, I'll just throw it out there, maybe it's something we should put up is that, communities can establish bylaws on hours of operations for certain, establishments. So I do know this happened in Prince Albert, because I was talking to one of my colleagues there, and you can restrict the hours and, when businesses like that are open. Especially for things like off sales, liquor store hours, those type of things. So maybe it's something we should review, but also, they do have to take care of their properties and not just rely on our safe security, because we do want them in our neighborhoods as well.
there's one more thing that's extremely important that should be on that board, and I spoke of it before, but I'd like to see it up there. Is the community is a perpetual, I call it an OODA-loo of things happening. It's a circle of progressional things that just continually happen, and you keep getting absorbed into that OODA-loo, that perpetuality. We need to look at ways of, stopping that circle, that perpetualness, and having them find ways to get out of it and transient aids and things to get back to their home communities where it's taken away from them under circumstance, right? So that doesn't exist right now, and that's where we find that there's no way out of those OODA-loos. They come and they're stuck.
Yeah. What else you gonna do?
Okay, so, again, there's some things I'm gonna sort of skip ahead. And sort of talk a little bit about, we've got a lot of the information there, so we'll pull some of this stuff off, but. To really, what did we hear? And was everything captured? I don't think so. I don't think we captured everything. I think we need a ton more time. And that's sort of gonna take us into, what are our next steps? Is that. As we mentioned, continue to advocate. Your council is doing this at every opportunity, but also. That's a great for you, as if you get a chance to speak to any of the elected officials, not only your municipal officials, but your provincial and federal, is to share your concerns and share your stories. And I appreciate those, especially you, for sharing your stories today, because they're powerful. And we wanna actually be able to talk to our community, our provincial leaders and ministers and say, listen, this is what we're hearing. Here's the things that we're doing, but there's some things we need help with. And that we can't control as a municipality, as a community alone, and we need some assistance, and we're willing to partner with people. We're not asking, we don't have our hands up, we're not trying to pass the problem on to somebody, we're asking for help. Help us, take us down this way, you have more resources to support us. We are gonna share what we've heard. We will kind of put this all together and put it in on something on, but we should probably put it on Rants and Raves, and it'll get all over the town. But it'll likely be on the Town of the Paws website, so what we've heard tonight and stuff. And we'll plan a future discussion, because I think this, as well as our other discussions, when we're either talking about special service levies, talking about the good things that the community is doing, talking about our strategic plan, our budget. Our community, we want them to be involved, we want to be open, and we want to be challenged and held accountable for the things that we said we're gonna try to do. And some things we may not be able to do, and we'll be honest with you. You know, it's not that simple sometimes, or we're moving it, but it's super slow. And it's frustrating as heck, but we are moving it and we're not giving up, so. I can say I speak for all of council, nobody's given up in here. We are trying to do and move our community forward as best we can. And we do appreciate the support that we are getting from the community, so. Thank you all tonight, stay tuned for up and coming, bigger and better, hopefully. And as always, if you want to reach out to any of your counselors or myself, you know how to reach us. I always, I don't know if anybody read the El Paso Times this week, but you know, when it comes to social media, you know, I always say it's better to call. Because some of the social media slingshots that are made out there really don't add any value to the conversation and typically slow things down because it just creates a lot of noise. So please reach out directly, go to the proper channels. If you look at what we talked about, we have our community, we have an app that you can enter concerns. This will be on the website. It's easy to do. You can enter whatever you want. Bola and her staff have a structured complaint system that gets tracked, gets reported in council. They know which is coming in, what's getting done. It doesn't get lost. As we mentioned earlier, there's the community safety, or the Safer Communities Neighborhood Act. So take a pamphlet when you leave and grab a copy of that. And then finally, as we mentioned, and we hear it, and I completely agree with you, because Mike didn't give me his number until yesterday. But that is a missing link. People don't know how to get in touch with us, don't know the process of getting to the CSOs, and we need to put that out there. And again, there really is talking about, you know, making sure there's more than what they're doing about just chasing around and you know, chasing people around the streets. They are enforcing bylaws as well. There's other aspects of their job. But the important thing, and I think what council talked about at the beginning, is really also connecting the services. We're not just trying to punish people. We want to be able to help people help themselves the best that they can, because I think we all care about people. And if we're frustrated, and it's okay to be frustrated, but don't give up. So thank you very much. Stay tuned, and we appreciate your time tonight. Hey. Can I have it?
I would love to share.
You're awesome. Thank
Thank you for that.
So I was trying to drive in October, the city. We have. So.
It's the day that the government is not. Yeah.